Morning, guys. Hope everybody's having a good morning. Happy Columbus Day. Hope everybody had a great weekend and all is well. We got a little rain going on down here in East Texas. Perfect day, morning to do reading. We're going to start today on the regular grays. We finished up the clarets. We know what they are. You can go back and preview those videos. If you didn't get them, they're right above this one on the YouTube channel. Now, these regular grays is such an extensive reading that we're going to break it down in about 3 parts at least, because it is way too much to fit in 1 or even 2. That being said, this is going to be a real eye-opener for a lot of people. These are extremely good fowl. I'm not a gray owner. Let me go ahead and put that out front. I don't own no regular grays. I have no agenda. This is strictly for unadulterated educational purposes. There's no agenda here except to educate both of us, you and me, and maybe we can learn something and help us in our breeding programs and what we need to look for in fowl. That being said, let's jump right in it. Madigan and Dean's regular grays marked double right. Henry Dean got a Harrisford brown red black and tan hen of the honeymoon line from Mr. O'Connor in 1922. He bred her to a gray claret cock. The produce was good and fought and called Dean Grays. 3 old hens of this family, half gray claret, half Harrisford brown red black and tans, from the hen called Butterfly. Her name was Butterfly in 1922. Now, we already know she's half black and tan, or brown red black and tan. This is actually a 4-way cross he created: a gray claret, a brown red black and tan hen, gray claret cock. In 1922, were bred to the great cock from Mr. O'Connell, which was a 3/4 Mansell Pile Joe Gilman gray and 1/4 Harrisford yellow birchen red in color. Okay, there we are. We're back to that Mansell Pile, just like that splash that was in them clarets and that Gilman gray. So you see how these people continue to tap what works for them. They don't go off over yonder and get something new. They already got it. They know they got it, so why do they want to go get something new? These grays won 14, I got to change pages, out of 15 to win the New Orleans tournament. And the brown reds beat Judge Wilkins every fight in Madigan's Big Main versus the judge in Louisiana at the Groves Pit near Orange, Texas. Now, what he's referring to is, when they said the brown reds, and this is one that's going to get you right here. Now, you need to really pay attention. This is what's bringing by this name, regular grays. And what happened is half of them offspring, or somewhat of the offspring, come typical gray color. Full brothers to them come black gray color, and that's what they're referring to as the brown red color. So that's how your typical grays got the name regular gray. They started calling them regular grays. Now, these black grays is the ones they were calling brown reds. We're talking about gray fowl here. This isn't a brown red. This is a black gray. Let's carry on. The cocks were later repeated in the East, where they won nearly all of their battles. Madigan Dean called them the regular grays, and they were the best gray-colored cocks I've ever saw anywhere. Bam, just like I said. That's how they got the name. I was presented at Madigan's Cock House. I was present at Madigan's Cock House. He was present. This is Gus talking. I was present at Madigan's Cock House when the brown-red colored grays won at the Groves Pit in Louisiana, as was E.W. Law. As was E.W. Law. He was in Madigan's Cock House. It's the first reference to E.W. Law since we've been doing these readings. And Madigan told us the true truth of their breeding. So he told Gus and E.W. Law how these cocks were bred at this time, after this main, in Groves Pit in Orange, Texas. That's right down the road from me right down here, about 90 miles. The black and tan Harrisford cocks were made from a Harrisford brown red cock, as made the Duray cocks. There you are. Tapping it. It's working. Let's tap it. Let's splash it with these grays, see if it works there too. That's exactly what they said. Seemed like it did. When bred to the hen that Mr. James Eastland gave Mr. O'Connell in 1885, in which he said was the last pure red quill hen in the world that year. Okay, guys, something just hit us like a brick. This argument we've been having on Facebook about these red quill chickens. Here's a quote. Eastland told them when he gave them this hen, this is the last purebred red quill hen. This is in 1885. Now, in 1985, that was 100 years. Now, you're looking at nearly 140 years since the last living Eastland red quill hen breathed the same oxygen as we do. Let's carry on. With the produce of these fowl, Mr. O'Connell won 32 consecutive mains. Now, what he's talking about is the black and tans. These were the black and tans, which was the Harrisford brown red cock, the same blood that's in the clarets that was in the bred to make the Duray fowl. The Harrison brown reds and the yellow birchins made the Duray fowl. This Harrison brown red bred into these black and tan. He bred it into that Eastland hen, that last red quill hen. When he bred it to her, they become the black and tans. That's what they call them. And they won 32 mains with them. They're monster chickens. Oh my God. 32 mains? Most people never win 32 derbies in their life. Hell, some of you ain't never been to 32 derbies. Anyway, this is what this is for. We're teaching everybody. We're all learning together. The Matthew Harrisford yellow birchins and the brown reds are the foundation of both the Kearney and the Duray cocks, and later the game hatch cocks before they were all outcrossed. Bam! Just what I've told you. Exactly what I told you. And the game hatch cocks before they were outcrossed. So, anybody saying anything about a hatch, man, who's a white huckle? He ain't got no white huckle in him. They're Kearney, they're Duray, the same blood. Harrisford brown red, Harrisford yellow birchin. That's what made them. As you see, all of these bloodlines are intertwined together, just like I told y'all before we started doing these strands. Just like I told you, all these bloodlines, a lot closer kin than you think they are. See, but now we're figuring it all out together. And you see that these old timers were tapping. These guys were legends. These guys were monsters in the world of rooster fighting. When they found a good bloodline, when that bloodline was working for them, they went to tapping it. They put it in them grays. They made them black and tans. All that from them same chickens. See, all these chickens are close. Mr. Madigan's strands contain the greatest money-winning bloodlines in the past 100 years. Fact. Fact. It's knowledge. It's not assumptions. It's a fact. Many of them unbeaten. During his lifetime, Madigan was considered the acknowledged champion cockfighter in America and Canada. In other words, he was the best in the world, and the best in our world, with these same bloodlines. I am very proud and fortunate to have worked for him and later fed for his two best friends, named Colonel Dan Japet, who was his business associate under the firm of Madigan, Japet, and Kuntz, and the Honorable Walter Kelso of Galveston, who inherited all his fowl upon his death. Bam! Just like I've told a ton of people in discussions, and I've told them, you can quote me on this. Walter Kelso inherited all of Madigan's fowl at the time of his death. Okay? That's when Walter Kelso becomes somebody in the rooster business. Walter Kelso owned a big concrete business down here in Galveston, Texas. His family's responsible for most of the concrete poured in Galveston, Houston during that time period. But that didn't make him a great rooster man. What made him a great rooster man is when Mr. John H. Madigan let him have all his chickens at the time of his death. That's when you'll start seeing your reference to your white Kelsos, they were the old Landor entry. That was the entry name they fought under. So if you're reading the old journals and you're seeing about, the old tournaments and you're seeing the old Landor entry, they're talking about Walter Kelso. Okay? And you'll start seeing some references to the white fowl. And that's going to be that white claret fowl, which we know what it is. It's about 7/8 Duray and about 1/8 of that Mansell pile. That, you see, they tapped into these gray chickens too. Same chickens. They put it in these grays, and now they're whooping everybody with them too, because they tapped into what was good. If we do that with our farms, it's going to make us better. If you forget the color, you forget the Derby wins, you look, this is what I do. I don't look at a Derby win, or I didn't when it was legal. We don't fight chickens anymore. When it was legal, we didn't ever look at our Derby wins with a family of chickens. What we looked at is an individual family or pen's personal win record. What that family done for us that year as far as wins and losses. If they was carrying a 60, 70, 80% win record, then that's the word we want to tap at. That's how we keep tapping into it. It's because you're dealing with facts. You're not dealing with assumptions. A record is a fact. Okay, we'll move on. Later, I fed three cocking seasons for Mr. Jim Frost Jr., worth $50 million in 1936. In other words, he wasn't shy on no paper neither. He had the money. And while with him, we created the great red and gray cocks from the Madigan bloodlines that went to Bobby Manziel when Mr. Frost quit the sport. Bam. So your Frost grays, your Manziel grays, are all the regular gray. That's all they are. Just like I told you, I was going to open a bunch of your eyes to these chickens. All these beautiful, badass gray roosters. Mr. Manziel's grays, and the Manziels live at 90 miles from me here, and I'm telling you, they're as good a rooster family as it ever been in this sport, and they're an old rooster family. And they're better than most. I promise you. They've never been the entry you want to meet at the Derby. I promise you, you don't. And they got great gray roosters. I'm talking about them gray roosters are great. They always have been. And their brown reds ain't too slouching either. I promise you. As a matter of fact, I'll say it publicly right here on this camera. If I did not own the fowl we own today, if I did not own the Wingate fowl we own today, if I was to have lost every black chicken I had, my brown reds and my sit tailors, I would try to go talk to Mr. Bobby Manziel. Out of all the breeders in the world that I know, and a lot of them would give me good fowl, I would go talk to Mr. Bobby Manziel. If I could, if he would allow me a visit, and I would try to purchase his brown reds. That's how much I respect the Manziel family. And I'm saying that on an open forum. They are a good, solid, honorable rooster family in futurity. And have been for many generations. We'll carry on. But we know the Manziel grays and the Frost grays are the regular grays. And the Law grays, I'm going to tell you, there was a reason E.W. Law was in Madigan's cockhouse. And there's a reason that E.W. Law gray chickens used to come black. They used to be black grays. The first Law grays I ever seen were black grays. And there's a reason for that. I guarantee you them Law grays is the black side of that regular gray. Now that is not a fact yet written. But we're probably going to find it out right here. But I guarantee you there was a reason E.W. Law drove all the way to Orange, Texas to be in his cockhouse and watch them black grays fight. We'll move on. With these great Frost cocks and Bobby Manziel, Frost cocks, Bobby Manziel defeated all the leading cockers in Texas and won everywhere else with them. Bam. The Frost cocks were the Madigan cocks, the regular grays. My friend Andrew P.O. O'Connell presented both Madigan and Dean with all the bloodlines that entered their immortal strands, with the exception of the Lomans and the McCarty blood, which entered their strands in minute amounts. In other words, he didn't give them no blood that contained the Loman or the McCarthy blood. They got the grays, and they got what Duray blood he had, but he didn't give them any of the Loman blood or the McCarthy blood. They got it somewhere else. So these winning chickens are coming from Duray, O'Connell, Kearney. They're all buddies. They all fighting the same chickens. They're whooping everybody in the world with them. Madigan and them had no sense to put them in them gray chickens and went to whooping everybody with them too, it looks like. He made 11 trips to Europe to fight cocks against the novelty over there, and brought back the best in the game of strands in their countries. And Madigan had the benefit of all of them. There it goes. That's where it come from. That's what made Madigan the man, and still is the man today. Kelso just rode on Madigan's coattail as much as, and I'm a Kelso owner. I have as good a I love my Kelsos. I'm not going to brag on them. I'm just going to say I love them. But I know who was truly responsible for them. Mr. Duray, Mr. Kearney, Mr. O'Connell, and Mr. Madigan. Those are the people that made these chickens. We're going to stop it right there. because this thing is going to go on too long if I don't. I got 3 readings right here out of this. It's going to be 3 readings, and it's getting really interesting fast, ain't it, guys? You already know. There's no Eastern red quill. That last one died 140 years ago. We already know the black and tans were half the Harrisford brown red, half the Eastern red quill that is extinct. So therefore them black and tans can't be made anymore. You already know Madigan made them regular grays, him and Dean whooped the world with them. They got some black chicken in them. Much as you black haters don't want to admit it. You got your pretty little regular grays. Didn't realize they had a little black chicken in them. I did. I knew it because I read this. I knew these journals. Them law chickens, that's the reason they come the color they do. And they used to come black. Grays. And I have seen some of them that come solid black before out of them laws. Didn't come gray at all. But anyway, we know that the Frost Grays and the Menzel Grays are all the regular grays. Now, in this next part of this reading, we're going to get into more of after Kelso got a hold of them. And you're going to see all the other guys that are heroes in this business and legends in this business, and that they obtained the same file as how they got their name. We know that Kelso obtained all the file of Madigan at the time of his death. We know that Mr. Menzel received all the Frost chickens whenever Frost got out of the business. So we've learned a whole lot in this video right here. And we're going to stop it right here. And we'll take up on the next reading. I'll get another reading done this week because we got to get through this. This is a big reading, and it's an interesting stuff. We'll go ahead and end it right there. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Tip of the day. Use common sense with your fowl, with your farm, and raising your fowl. And that is the tip of the day. God bless. Hope everybody enjoyed it.